Hey y'all, it's Bridgie from Bougie Texas Barbecue, and today I'm going to show you how to smoke beef cheeks 3 different ways. And at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how we make Mexican tortas down here in South Texas. Let's get into the recipe. To begin this recipe, all you're going to need is a couple pounds of beef cheeks and some SPG. For this specific cut, you will find it at your local grocery store in a vacuum sealed bag. Today, I'm using about 3 because I wanted to show y'all the variation that can come within the bag. If you're lucky, you'll get the whole cheek intact that needs very little trimming, but more commonly, you'll find the small to medium ones, as well as these little thin pieces of meat within the fat, which are commonly thrown away. Well, today guys, I'm going to show y'all how to smoke all 3. That way it's worth every dollar that you spend, because if you buy these regularly, you know how expensive they can be. With that being said, do not throw your fat away. This can be melted down into beef tallow. It will take a little bit longer, but I promise you, throw it in a crock pot overnight and you have your liquid gold. Make sure they're nice and seasoned as well, because they will lose a little bit of the rub during the wrapping and braising process. And now that they're seasoned, I'm just going to let them do a quick 30-minute dry brine while I preheat my smoker. Today I'm using Oklahoma Joe's reverse flow smoker, and I'm using 1 hefty chimney of their charcoal briquettes. And for that authentic Tex-Mex flavor, I'm using mesquite wood splits. The reason why I use charcoal and wood splits is for a longer refuel time, which is nice because I don't have to babysit the fire as much throughout the cook. On this specific smoker, the edges tend to run hotter, so I'm placing my fat trimmings as well as my larger beef cheeks towards the edges. The middle is the prime spot area, so I'm placing my small to medium cheeks as well as my trimmings right in the middle. So I'm going to smoke these low and slow at 250 degrees from 3 to 4 hours, or until the bark is set. Alright guys, so it's been 4 hours. Let's talk about method 1, the Texas crutch, that will put these beef cheeks in the category of tenderism. Well, once they're done anyways. So what is the Texas crutch? It is just wrapping your proteins in foil, and what's gonna happen is it's gonna steam your protein the rest of the cook. Now, me personally, that's too basic, so I'm adding onions, I'm adding garlic, and I'm adding beef tallow from the beef cheeks, and that's gonna make them super rich once they're probe tender. Now, because you're not braising them in a liquid, it will take a little longer, which works perfectly for this cook because I'm also smoking bigger beef cheeks. Talking about braising, let's get into method 2. This is definitely more common when it comes to smoking barbacoa. Well, I like to call it the millennial barbacoa, because traditional barbacoa, you gotta dig a hole and smoke the whole cow's head. We're not doing that today, so we're just gonna smoke the beef cheeks. But the braising liquid is gonna give those cheeks all the flavor. Chicken broth, beef broth, onions, garlic, Mexican oregano, and some spices if you'd like. And as I mentioned earlier, because they're in that braising liquid, they will cook a little hotter and faster. We are going to place them back onto the smoker, but this time I recommend bumping the temp to 275 to help push them through their stall. And trust me, they will stall out. 3 hours later, our beef cheeks are finally done, all 3 of them. Yes, I will get into method 3 right now. But even though they have been resting, they are still pretty hot. I recommend, guys, go grab yourself a box of OKJ's disposable barbecue gloves. They come with these neat little heat gloves that are nice and thick, and they're washable. I grabbed a new box because I didn't want to show y'all my dirty gloves that I washed that are nice and stained. But anyways, immediately after picking up the larger ones, they definitely felt rendered and soft and still have that pretty bark. Very, very happy with them. Now, the small to medium ones actually got a better bark and actually feel a little bit more rendered. Not surprisingly, they're smaller. But let's get into method 3. After smoking them for 3 hours, I threw these trimmings into a crock pot with beef tallow, onions, garlic, pretty much everything I put in the other ones. But what makes this different is I can place this on the lowest setting of my crock pot slow cooker, and it's going to take as long as the other ones that are actually into the smoker, and it'll still be infused with that smoke flavor because we smoked them for 3 hours already. And because they're so tiny, they're going to get infused with smoke a lot faster than the bigger ones, ultimately resulting all 3 methods done at the same time. Is it a little bit more work? Absolutely. But the proof is in the pudding, in my opinion, and they are nice and soft. You still have quite a bit of meat in there. You might get crispy edges and you might get a little bit of fat. But once you mix it into the other beef cheek meat, I promise you no one will be able to tell, and you just added another torta or a couple tacos to the menu. But I do want to note this: if you went to a Mexican restaurant or a barbecue restaurant, you would get twice as much fat, versus if you trim and smoke them yourself, you will save money, they will taste better, and you have a reason to go outside and cook. Enough about that, let's get into our small to medium beef cheeks. As I stated earlier in this video, they definitely felt super tender and they did not disappoint. Right off the bat, you can tell how much more meat these small to medium ones have. That's okay, because once you mix it in with the trimmings, regardless if you're eating it in a taco, torta, burrito, whatever, no one's going to be able to tell the difference. It's going to come out delicious. What I wasn't expecting on how deep the smoke ring was. This specific cut usually has a really good smoke ring. I just wasn't expecting the whole dang cheek to be pink. And as I shred the remaining ones, they felt just like they're supposed to. Velvety, silky, and they smelled delicious. No surprise here that the larger ones were just as rendered velvety and juicy as the other ones. But of course, these had a lot more meat. That's why they're my favorite. And for the traditional barbacoa flavor, save the broth, add it into your taco, and it's gonna taste so good. And that pretty much wraps up our beef cheek cooks. All the details and instructions about the methods as well as my ingredient list for the entire video will be down below, guys. So make sure you save this video for later. And of course, if you like and subscribe, that will be greatly appreciated. But now it's time for the fun part. It's time to build our torta. And down here in South Texas, if you go to any Mexican restaurant, especially a Jalisco restaurant, you're gonna find your torta being built this way. So let's get into it. So you're gonna need a couple loaves of bread for toasting and some Mexican melting cheese. This step is optional as far as the cheese part, but you definitely want to toast your loaves. Instead of using the melting cheese, you can use queso fresco or some cotija cheese. It's 100% up to you. I just like the way the cheese tastes when it's nice and crispy. Now I add refried beans on top of the cheese so it stays nice and warm. A good amount of that beef cheek, and then the additional toppings are really up to you. Lettuce, onions, and cilantro is most common. I like to add tomatoes or pico de gallo. Add some lime, add some salsa, and there you go. You have a smoked beef cheek torta. Don't forget to save this recipe, guys. Till next time, enjoy!